Welcome to Million Hour Life, the podcast about longevity and everything that we need to do to live longer, healthier lives. Hopefully, together we learn how to live to be centurions. And if you get lucky, like I plan to get lucky, maybe even live to be 1,000,000 hours old, which equals almost 115. So, today we're going to talk about what I think is the most basic thing you can do to start with getting into longevity and trying to live longer. And that's hydration. Our bodies are between 70 and 90% water. And every organ and every cell in your body needs proper hydration to function. So, getting the right amount of water at the right times is critical to live longer and live healthier. Now, bear with me. I'm from South Jersey, so I struggle to say water. I'm trying to, but if a water slips out every once in a while, it's geographic. It's not on purpose. It's hard to control. So being hydrated gives you better brain function, makes you overall healthier, helps you perform better if you're an athlete. Where being dehydrated is brain fog, equals mental fatigue, equals just feeling like overall crap. And I had so many problems in my life that I couldn't get to the bottom of, couldn't figure out why my stomach had so many issues, couldn't figure out why I woke up on Monday mornings, especially Monday mornings after a weekend of partying a little bit too hard, feeling like crap. And when I started to seriously hydrate, drinking more water than I'm going to tell you guys that you have to drink, my life changed and changed pretty dramatically. A lot of problems that I thought were never going to go away are gone and no longer a part of my life. My skin's better. My lips don't get chapped. I feel great sometimes just from proper hydration, where I used to feel awful from being dehydrated. So the first question people ask when it comes to hydration is, how much should you actually drink to be properly hydrated? And I'm going to listen to Andrew Huberman, who, if you don't know who Huberman is, he's someone, if you want to nerd out about water, all you have to do is go on Spotify or even YouTube and just search Andrew Huberman hydration. He gets into the chemistry, the nitty gritty, the things that, to be honest with you, a lot of it's over my head. I try and get just the basics from what he's talking about. But he believes that you should have 8 ounces of water every hour for the first 10 hours that you're awake. It doesn't mean that you have to drink 8 ounces of water every hour, but it means in that first 10 hours of being awake, you should drink 80 ounces of water. And if you have trouble getting up in the middle of the night and peeing a lot, then you really want to control not drinking a lot of water once you get past that first 10 hours of being awake. And maybe have only 5 to 10 ounces of water the last however many hours you're up after 10 hours, so that you're less likely to get up frequently during the night. And I do that. I drink probably 100 to 150 ounces of water a day, but I also spend a lot of time in sauna and working out, which is something else he talks about. It's called the Galpin calculation. So on top of your 80 ounces of fluid, you can count fluid. I just count water. But if you drink uncaffeinated beverages that you want to add into your 80 ounces of water, it's a good place to start. Then maybe when you're comfortable doing that, don't count those and just try and get 80 ounces of water in. But I do that frequently. But on top of that, you should drink, this is a little bit of a calculation. You take your body weight, you divide it by 30, and then you add that many ounces of water every 15 to 20 minutes of working out on top of your 80 ounces of water a day. Now, if you really work out hard or you spend a lot of time in a sauna, like I do, I try and get at least 4 days, hopefully 5 days a week at 25 to 45 minutes per shot in the sauna. And I sweat ridiculously. So on top of me just drinking water, I add extra water and add electrolytes to that water, because you sweat out a lot of your electrolytes, your sodium, your calcium, your magnesium, important things that your body needs and that you get from water intake. Now, another question a lot of people ask me is, what kind of water do you drink? And I really think that starts more with, what kind of water don't you drink? And I think that's unfiltered tap water. If you're drinking unfiltered tap water, that's where you should start. Just a little teeny investment, if you can, into a water filtration system. And it could be something you just sit on your counter. A Brita filter is pretty good. It filters out a lot of the negatives that are in water. It filters out things like lead and phosphates, but it doesn't filter out fluoride. So you could spend a little bit more money to make sure you're getting a filtration system that not only filters out the bad stuff in the leads, but also fluoride. You do not want to have a lot of fluoride in your drinking water, and most of our tap water does. Now, a lot of people go back and forth on that, how important that is. I just believe that a lot of fluoride in your water is bad, and tap water has it, and other waters, pH balanced waters, that to me are a little bit of a waste of money. I don't think it's worth spending money on things like Essentia and Smart Water. I mean, if you got the money, do it. It is probably a better quality water, but I think you'd be better off investing in on your counter filtration system. And you can spend $200 to $500. Britas are $80, no brainer. But if you can spend a little bit more for $200 to $500, you can get one that you can put 5 gallons of water in. And then that way it's always there. You're not filling up pitchers and running out of water and then having to fill up pitchers like you do with Brita. And you change the filters frequently because you're putting so much through them. So that's where I would start spending money if I was going to invest in water. But the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of unfiltered tap water. And if you're broke, if you're like, well, look, I want to do something, but I don't have 2 nickels to rub together to start with this, then what's recommended to do is put your tap water in a vessel, hopefully a glass vessel. If you can, get like a glass jug. If you can avoid plastic as much as you can. But if you can put it in a glass jug, call it a 5-gallon glass jug, leave no cap on it, and let it just sit for 6 to 8 hours. And, you don't see anything in your water, but a lot of the bad stuff will drop to the bottom of that unfiltered tap water vessel. Then you want to take, after 6 to 8 hours, dump that into another vessel that you're just taking the top 2/3 of the water and pouring it somewhere else, and then dumping the rest out. That's not as good as getting a on the counter or a better. You can get like reverse osmosis systems that people love, but they cost thousands of dollars. But if you're just trying to start with the cheapest way possible, at least just don't drink it right out of the tap, because it's the pipes that it comes from that a lot of the bad things come into your drinking water from. So if you're just willing to sit it there for 6 to 8 hours, a lot of that's going to fall to the bottom. Pour it into something else, drink that, dump the rest, rinse and repeat. So that's, what you don't drink. Now, what water would I invest in past the filtration? Molecular hydrogen seems to be, and, there's starting to be more tests that are done with this, and they're the legit double-blind placebo test where some people don't get anything and some people get molecular hydrogenated water. And it does seem like there is a benefit, especially to reduction of inflammation, which, a lot of people have pain, a lot of people have inflammation. Just being able to put hydrogen tablets, which you can get for pretty cheap, into your water is worth investing in. Also, electrolytes. If you do work out a lot, if you do spend time in sauna like I do, you need to add electrolytes back into your body. Now, you could spend money on electrolytes that you pour in your water. You could also get sports drinks as long as you focus on things that don't have a ton of added sugar in, and you're going to put your electrolytes that are really needed back into your body. Or you could do something simple, like a little bit of salt in your water. And then, just so you don't taste the salt in your water, put lemon juice on top of that. Now, I wouldn't just add table salt. I would spend a little bit of money to get, they say the best salt, and this is from Gary Brecka, who's a salt nerd, is something called Baja Gold salt. It's not expensive. You can get it on Amazon, and it's reasonably cheap, but it's a better quality salt. Table salt, besides the fact that table salt has, I forget what it has in it that most salt doesn't. The stuff, iodine. It has iodine in it. So if you don't use table salt, you do want to supplement with iodine. Maybe I take kelp tablets, which have a lot of iodine in it. And unless you have issues that you shouldn't have iodine, you do want to look at that so that you're not getting too much iodine. But if you're just putting sea salt instead of table salt, that's the one thing you're missing. But a higher quality way of doing it is to supplement for your iodine and use Baja Gold. If not Baja Gold, Celtic sea salt is number two. And then number three behind that is the one we've all heard of, pink Himalayan sea salt. The problem with that is if you don't really source and get high quality Himalayan sea salt, a lot of what you get could have things like lead in it. That's the last thing you want to add into your body. That's one of the things that you want to filter out and get rid of. But I would add a little bit of sea salt and then lemon juice. And if you can do fresh squeezed lemons, that's the best way to do it. If you're going to buy lemon juice from the store, don't get the stuff at the grocery market that looks like a lemon or a lime, because that's crappy, concentrated, diluted lemon and lime juice. I spend a little bit more money and get what's called Delalo lemon juice or lime juice, which is essential oil concentrated lemon juice and lime juice. It tastes great, and it's a little bit better for you than just getting the stuff that you get at ShopRite in the little thing that looks like a lemon or a lime. So those are the water that I would invest a little extra money in. The more money you have to spend, dive deep. Like I said, there's things you can buy, like a whole house reverse osmosis water system that costs thousands of dollars, but some people love the taste and the effects and how they feel after drinking reverse osmosis water. It's a little too expensive for me. I think there's better ways to do it, and I just focus on getting the right amount of water, trying to drink it at the right time, and adding in the things that I need to add into it to make sure my body has everything it needs, even when I sweat a lot and work out a lot. So they're the basic major things that I wanted to talk about with water. Now, some people also go, okay, how do you do it? Like, how do you make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day? And there's some tricks that I think people could follow. If you struggle at the end of the day, you realize, like, oh, shoot, the whole day passed and I was supposed to drink 80 ounces of water and I didn't. So the one thing that I do is I bring a big thing of water into the shower in the morning. And then that way, when I get out of the shower, I've already got at least 50 ounces of water in my body. And it's easy to drink water in the shower. You wash yourself, you take a gulp, you floss your teeth, you take another gulp. By the time I'm done, I get 50 ounces of water in every time I get out of the shower. Also adding stuff like lemon, cucumber, people like to put mint, people like to put in their water, that just makes it have a little bit more flavor than plain water without adding tons of sugar and extra things that you don't need. So track it. Anything that's important, you got to track. So spend a couple of weeks writing down how much water you drink and how many days did you get to your 80 ounces of water. And then what the days that you worked out, did you add the extra water you're supposed to add that, if you can do while you're working out, is even more beneficial. Also use a straw. Some people drink more water when they drink. It works with alcohol. It works with water too. If you drink out of a straw, you're likely to drink more water than you do if you're just sipping it. And I like to use 5-gallon jugs. I know you should stay away from plastic as much as you can. Although one thing that people are starting to say is the glass bottle seems like it's the way to go with bottled water. But what they're finding out is the plastic on the top of the caps in the glass bottles are leaching more plastic into water than a lot of water bottles are when they get tested. So nothing's foolproof, nothing's 100%, but I like to use the 5-gallon jugs that you get from Walmart, and it allows me to drink more water. I go through one of those every other day, and it's only 2 people in the house with me. So that's like, I drink a lot of water. I drink more than I'm going to tell you to drink. And when I water fast, I try and do 3 days a month where I eat nothing. I only drink water and black tea, no cream and sugar, from Sunday to Wednesday, one time a month. Every month. I've been doing this now for 2 years. And when I do that, I try and drink 250 ounces of water. And I at least make sure 1 or 2 of those 50-ounce waters that I drink, I add in electrolytes or something called amino acids, which is another thing that I would invest in. Perfect Aminos is Gary Brecka's brand that he pushes. And Gary Brecka is a very well-known guy in the longevity space. He is someone who sells stuff more than he just gives advice. but he's the guy who changed Dana White's life, Steve Harvey's life. So he's got some good stuff out there. And he pushes something called perfect aminos, which to me are delicious. I add them in my water with some creatine, a little lemon juice, a little lime juice, and then boom, I'm putting everything back into my body. It doesn't break your fast, and I'm putting everything back into my body that I'm losing while I'm not eating for 3 days. So those are some tips that I have. If anyone else has anything that they'd like to add, let me know. I'm always trying to learn. That's the point of what we're doing here, is we're all learning together. So that's my big stuff on hydration. It's key. It's where to start. From there, it's diet and exercise. But if you're not getting the right amount of water at the right times, then you're really not living the way you should live to try and live long. So, all right, see you next episode. Have a great day. Appreciate your time. And if you like this, go to YouTube. Do me a favor, subscribe. If you know anyone else who's getting into wanting to live longer, pass this on to them. The more people that see this, the better this is, the more we can grow this group to eventually get to 100,000 people, that we add 10 years onto our life and add 1,000,000 years of life into the world just by learning things that everybody should know. All right, see you next time.